Welcome to the Daily Devo. Today we're talking about how a lot can happen in a single moment. A lot can happen in a moment. Much of our life is filled with routine or familiar happenings from day to day. For many of us, we can look at the weeks ahead and get a pretty good picture of what most of our days will contain. We can probably predict the good, the bad, the hard, the beautiful. You may even be able to safely assume your routines in the days ahead, your schedule, when you leave, who you pick up, who you'll see, the places you'll be at. And yet, there are times when things change, when the days look much different than they once did. The people change. The place suddenly is different. The problems that once consumed your mind and your thinking, they no longer take center stage in your thoughts. A lot can happen in a moment. You see, in a moment, the buzzer sounds and the game is finished. In a moment, a baby is delivered and takes its first breath. In a moment, the keys to your former home, they're turned over and they're no longer yours. In a moment, the peace of God can wash over you and transform everything. A lot can happen in a moment. Today, I want to remind you about God's character. Listen to this verse in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. It says, "And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." You see, God spoke and it was. In a moment, the darkness, it was pushed back and light filled the space simply because God spoke. I want to remind you that God is able to move in a moment. Do you believe that? Do you believe that God has the authority and the power to move in a moment? And God is always good. What if today you consider this truth? What if you think about what you believe about that statement? What about this truth is challenging or frustrating to you? What in your life is reminding you of this truth? And what if you let your faith and hope start to arise that God is not absent, that God and his ways, that they are in fact at work, that this new day, that God's mercies, he says they're new every morning. God is not absent, he is at work. You see, in a moment, God spoke and the darkness turned into light. God has the authority and the power to move in a moment, and God is good and he does good. Let's let the truth and this character of God settle into our mind and hearts. Let's wrestle with it before God and choose to walk it out in belief. Ponder these things.